It is a common mistake to believe that the Titanic died in the dark of a cold Atlantic night. Most people believe the tragedy was an act of God, an unavoidable collision with a mountain of ice. But the truth is far more haunting. The Titanic was lost hours earlier in a small, sweltering room filled with the spark of electricity and a level of arrogance that is difficult to comprehend today. At the heart of this tragedy is a single sheet of paper, a note. In the spring of 1912, this scrap of paper held the lives of 1,517 people in its ink. Today, we look at the electronic ghost of the Titanic, the warnings that were sent, the warnings that were heard, and the one-legged genius 3,000 miles away who watched the disaster happen in real time while the world stayed silent. By April 14th, the North Atlantic was a highway of steel. Multiple ships, the Caronia, the Nordam, and the America, had already broadcast urgent warnings. Inside the Titanic's wireless room sat Jack Phillips. He was 25 years old, exhausted, and drowning in social noise. You see, the wireless operators didn't work for the ship's captain. They worked for the Marconi Company. Their job was to ensure that millionaires could send birthday wishes and stock tips to New York. At 9:40 p.m., exactly 2 hours before the collision, a message arrived from the steamship Mesaba. This wasn't just a general report. It gave the exact coordinates of a massive ice field directly in the Titanic's path. Jack Phillips acknowledged the message with a quick "received." Then he placed a small lead paperweight over the note. He told himself he would deliver it to the bridge once he finished the backlog of passenger gossip. The note sat there, silent and invisible, as the ship steamed at 22 knots into the heart of the ice. An hour later, the ship Californian tried to break through the static. Their operator, Cyril Evans, sent a desperate signal. "We are stopped and surrounded by ice." Phillips, stressed and overworked, fired back a response that history will never forget. "Keep out. Shut up. I am working Cape Race." Cyril Evans listened for a few more minutes, then he turned off his radio and went to bed. The Californian was less than 20 miles away, close enough to have saved every soul on board, but the airwaves went silent. 3,000 miles away, in a small Welsh village, Arthur Ernest Moore was sitting in a wooden shack. Everyone called him Artie. As a boy, Artie had lost his leg in a mill accident. He had built his own wireless tower out of scrap wood and a water wheel. That night, the atmosphere did something rare. It created a skip in the signal, carrying the Titanic's radio waves across the ocean and straight into Artie's headphones. At 11:40 p.m., the chatter of socialites changed to a sharp, desperate staccato. "CQD. SOS. We are striking ice. We are sinking fast." Artie's hand flew across his logbook. He recorded every plea. He heard the Carpathia respond. He heard the Olympic ask for clarity. Imagine this young man, alone in a shed in Wales, being the only person in the British Isles to know that the world's greatest ship was sliding into a freezing grave. Artie ran to the local police station, clutching his notes, gasping for breath. The officers laughed. They told him it was impossible for a boy with a wooden leg to hear a ship in the middle of the Atlantic. They told him to go home. For the next 24 hours, Artie Moore lived in a nightmare. He knew the death toll, and he was the only one who had heard the final screams through the static. It wasn't until the news reached London the following day that the world realized the boy in the shack had been right. Guglielmo Marconi himself traveled to Wales to meet Artie. He was stunned by the accuracy of the logs and offered Artie a career on the spot. Marconi had predicted wireless could reach 2,000 miles. Artie had doubled it, using scraps and intuition. The tragedy of the Titanic wasn't a failure of technology, it was a failure of focus. The men in charge were so distracted by the noise of luxury that they couldn't see the life-saving data sitting right in front of them. Jack Phillips died at his post at the age of 25, a hero who stayed until the power failed. But he died with that note still under the paperweight. We live in a world today that is noisier than ever. We believe our technology will save us from our own arrogance. But as we look at the silent note under a paperweight, we have to ask, in the midst of all our modern noise, are we actually listening? Or are we just waiting for the ice to find us? This is the Archive of Echoes. Join us as we preserve the voices history tried to bury. Subscribe to join the archive. Until next time, keep your ears to the static.